Today on Dreaming with Drip and Drift, our special guest is a U.S. Drift Circuit Round 3 and 4 champion, FormulaDrift Proam driver, Ryan Acevedo.
Drip and Drift.
Welcome to the show, man.
What's up, man? Happy to be here.
Yeah,
Appreciate you having
dude.
me on. This is awesome.
Yeah, dude. A little last minute, but
Yeah,
hey,
right.
we made it work, bro. You got here. So.
Yeah, right.
Awesome, man. So what's been up lately? You're getting ready for Black Friday?
Yeah, getting ready for Black Friday. Starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, got to get in line early. Everybody lines up for that event.
Yeah.
Crazy early. They're out there at like 10 a.m. or
Yeah.
9 a.m. Gates open at 12. So.
And you're bringing the ISR car?
Yeah,
Or what
bringing the comp car. We have a VQ car, but just kind of isn't ready. I haven't really done any laps in it. Haven't tested it. There's a few things I want to change on it. I want to get some BCs on it and whatnot. Get it kind of driving how I'm familiar with before I start bringing it out to events.
True.
But bringing the comp car, getting one last event in, before we
Nice.
pack it up and start the off-season prep of
True.
rabbit hole of making changes.
You
and
take
whatnot.
everything apart, or what's that process?
Our off-season prep has been different every single year because every year we kind of end up taking a different step, leaping into like a new thing. Like, last year we took the first step into Pro-Am, and then coming into this season, it was a more serious step. We had a lot more ducks in a row, tried to, forward our program as much as we could. So our off-season prep is always all over the place. Like now we're kind of getting it ready since we got like the right to petition into Pro Spec with the second place finish. We're like getting ready, trying to like figure out how to make the car the most competitive. It's a Z, so it's heavy. So we're finding all these ways, with the help of like guys like Freddie and whatnot, how to shave as much weight as possible out of the Z. Just try and make it as competitive as possible for Pro Spec. How we're going to make up the extra power that's needed and whatnot. So that's kind of our plans right now for the off season. It's just, getting it ready for Pro Spec. And it's always different every year. Like I said, it's been such a positive uphill slope for us, fortunately, every season, that it's like every year we've had to do some sort of crazy changes in the off season.
True. Yeah, that's pretty wild. I always wonder about that. Like, so now you need to make it a little faster.
Yeah.
To go into.
It's quick, but Pro Spec's fast. You got guys like Ben Hobson out there in his car. I mean, that car is like a rocket ship.
Yeah.
So trying to get like a heavy Z that already is like kind of just arguably a little bit less competitive than like the E46 and the S14 in like a professional environment.
Right.
Figuring out ways that we can make it at least get by. Because, we're working on a budget, so we can't just kind of go out of the way and build like an entire new chassis.
True.
That would be sick. It'd be sweet. But I'm sure a lot of people know, it's just not really feasible to do that, especially, because the season costs so much. So jumping into it. Yeah. There's a lot of funding and different logistics that you got to kind of sort out taking that next step.
Right. You're traveling everywhere, all the tires, all the parts that you may break. Yeah.
Exactly. And the traveling's far, Like with U.S. Drift Circuit, everything's in Florida. We're fortunate that it's like at Sebring and OSW, which is within like a 4-hour radius.
Right.
But, Pro Spec, you got like Atlanta, Jersey, Utah. I don't even remember where the other round is. But
Yeah.
it's so spread
California,
out.
Right? Or are they? I don't know
remember.
Pro Spec was.
Yeah, I don't think Pro Spec's at Irwindale anymore. Pro 2, like
True.
when it was Pro 2, it was, but I don't think it is anymore.
True.
But
so you didn't come from a race family. How'd you get into racing so young? Like what?
Yeah.
How cars come about? Like what happened?
Yeah, not a racing family, but my dad, at Papa Vito, shout out Dad, love you. He's always been into cars, right? So like when I was in the 3rd and 4th grade, he bought like a 67 Camaro, put an LS3 in it,
Nice.
and that was pretty early to be doing LS3 stuff,
Yeah.
I mean the motors have always been decently, acquirable, but that was when it was still, like a fresh motor. Not many people were doing like that kind of swap, back in like the late 2000s when the LS3 first came about in the C6
Into something like that as well.
Exactly, because a lot of that stuff's like old like big block and old carbureted small block stuff. But so I was always kind of around cars with him building like Camaros and restoring C10s with my uncle and whatnot, but I just never I was into it for a little bit when I was like younger, and then I was just like I'm not. I got really like kind of like almost just like really inside kid. Like I was like I'm a huge video game guy even till this day.
Inside kid.
Yeah, I was really inside like my early years, right? Like teenage years, preteen years. I was always playing video games, like grinding Call of Duty and stuff. Yeah. CS:GO and stuff on PC. But then in middle school I caught wind of like Slap Train and like AR12 and like other sim YouTubers at the time. Not even really sim, more so Forza YouTubers, because the sim was popular, but it wasn't, AC wasn't that popular yet. So just seeing like video game culture, like Forza Horizon 2 drifting, Forza Motorsport 4 and 5 drifting, and then eventually seeing like Assetto Corsa really like fueled my interest in it. I started drifting on video games, and then I was like, took the next step and got a wheel in like a Assetto and a PC, and I was like, this is awesome.
So how old were you when you started sim drifting?
13 years old.
13.
Yeah.
And
if we count like Forza as your first sim drifting, which I mean it kind of
it
is,
was a wheel and pedals and
exactly.
everything. Okay,
yeah, 13.
And so knew how to drift and drive before you got your license.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like you knew how to drive gnarly.
Yeah,
before.
arguably. I mean, I think not even me as an example, but I've seen a lot of people go from like never drifting a car, never getting a car loose, coming straight out of the sim, and they're like absolute rippers. Yeah. So I'm sure if you threw me in something like at a track environment, I probably would have been able to rip, but who knows?
Right.
Well, I guess my first event, I was able to link the track, so I guess that's like a kind of a good pay of evidence for the sim.
I mean,
yeah, it was the old kidney bean layout.
True.
At OSW. I linked that like on day 2
event.
of Spring Break Bash. My first event was one of those 3-day events.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say I did have a good record of evidence from the sim.
Yeah, that's wild. Because I always hated the sim. I just wanted to drive and had it feel real, like a real car driving. And then once I actually started drifting, I got the sim at the beginning of this year. So I've had it for...
So you're like recent on
the
sim.
11 months or so. And it was after I started drifting. And now I love it. I don't know why I hated it for so long. I think it was just because it was a game.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to spend money on the car, not on that. But I've learned so much already, just left foot braking.
For sure.
Like just a bunch of different things I've been able to transfer from the sim to real drifting. So.
Absolutely. And I try and grind the sim as much as I can, like in between like USDC rounds and whatnot. Because I think for me, the best thing that the sim helps with is like kind of pushing the limits of like driving a specific track, whether it's one that we're going to in real life, like OSW that's on the sim, or even just finding like a VDC track that's similar layout wise to a track we're about to drive, and just really getting like really aggressive and pushing myself in the chase. Because when I play the sim, I treat it like I'm driving in real life, so even if I'm doing a chase, I don't want to just drive absolutely 180% and just like wreck into someone on initiation, right? I treat the sim like I'm gonna like this is like 110% like finals chase run that I'm about to lay down. Really calculated and making sure like all the timing of everything is really well, and you're surging and driving really aggressive but controlled. Yeah. Right. So I try and use that as good practice to get ready for those comps.
I need to work on that because I think that might be a little bit of my problem is that I know it's a game, so I just like wrecks shit sometimes.
Yeah. I try. I used to drive like that all the time on the sim, and then I was kind of like, like let me take a step back and really try and. This is like, I look at it like the F1 guys do nowadays. Yeah. Like, that's kind of where I got that mindset from watching like Lando and Max play like, iRacing and whatnot. It's so serious to them, right? Yeah. It's like, it's training. It's like, it's not a game. Right. Like, this is how you're trying to better yourself. This is how you're trying to take yourself and you're driving to the next level. And it really is that, it's that deep. It's that serious, So.
Yeah. I can tell. I mean, some people, even the movie Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
That's like based on a real story. Yeah. Wild,
and he wasn't even on like a crazy sim. I mean, he was on Gran Turismo, which has always been realistic. But now with iRacing and Assetto Corsa and ACC, I mean, you have these crazy sims that if you could emulate the G-forces and whatnot, then it'd practically be driving in real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you went sim drifting at 13, 14, your first event at 19.
16. First event was at 16.
Okay,
yeah.
16. And then it was that same year that was your comp as well?
1 year after.
1 year after.
So I started driving in 2019, March, Spring Break Bash 2019. I was 16 years old, and then after the whole COVID thing started, that's when Clutch Giggers kind of popped up, came about. And then that was my first competition, was round 1 of the first season of Clutch Giggers.
What made you jump into that so quickly or want to, or like, I don't know, I feel like I'd be frightened like that quick or
no, sure, definitely. I always want to push myself, right? I'm a real competitive person. So, and the only way to get better is to, whether it's a sport or a motorsport or anything, or like we were talking about music or whatever, is playing with people better than you, right? Putting yourself in a position where you're the guy at the deficit, you know what I'm saying? Where you can teach me something, I can learn something from you. Sure, even I could probably teach you something, driving with someone less skilled, they're going to pick up on a new skill, a new, just good driving habit. Maybe it's like a sense of driving with caution with someone who might not be as consistent. But I was just like, you know what? Like, it's in Florida, it's close-ish. We're up in Jacksonville, so it's a little closer than being in Central Florida. I was like, why not go out there and learn? Like, it's the one opportunity to drive with like pro drivers and pro cars at like what was advertised as and ended up being a fairly balanced track. Yeah. And I was like, you know what, let's just go out there and give it a shot. It's good practice. It's good. You can't put a price on that kind of stuff. So I was just like, let's do it.
Yeah. And obviously you won that round against
I won like a top. I won a top 32 battle against Randall Waters, who was a pro spec driver based out of Texas, or Pro 2 at the time. Mm-hmm. And then in top 16, I battled like now one of my best friends, Kevin Lawrence, at Njuku, in the R32, and then I won that battle. And it was just from there. It was an adrenaline rush. I was like, oh my gosh! Like,
you proved that you were ready. Obviously,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, man, and it's just wild to me that so many people spend years, if not decades, to get to that point, and because of simulator, because of maybe just your own intuition, hand-eye coordination, like it just popped off. Like,
it's worked decently. You know, we've had pretty positive growth, so hopefully we can kind of keep that trend up. But you know, that trend doesn't just happen by luck. It takes hard work and a lot of dedication and grind, and you know, trying to push yourself to be the best you can be on track and behind the wheel. You know, if you want to.
And you told me at US Drift Circuit, like having the appropriate amount of spares, the right team, the right people with you. That's obviously grown from that point, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's something you kind of learn when you start stepping into competition. So like Clutch Kickers, it was just like me and my dad, not a single other crew member, right?
True.
So just like me and dad. And I can wrench, but I generally don't wrench that hard on the car. I prefer driving. Like I'm like a driver kind of guy.
Same.
Yeah, right.
Same.
So you know, I would help where I can on the car, and obviously I still help where I can on the car. But it's not my forte, right? It's not something that I built. It's not something I touched every bolt on.
Right.
I was there to help and whatnot, but primarily dad wrenches on the car, you know. Nowadays he crew chiefs the entire team, directs everybody. So back at Clutch Kickers, you know, it was just me and him. Realistically, crew side, you know, wrenching side, prep wise, it's really just him, and then I'm just a kid driving. Granted, it was a VQ car, so it was pretty simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you start, you know, pushing through comp and start stepping into like, you know, money comms, once Clutch Kickers got bigger, as well as like USDC Pro-Am, any kind of Pro-Am for that matter, you really start to realize like, hey, we need multiple crew guys able to like fix the car in like a 5 to 10 minute timeout.
Yeah.
Got to be able to like, you know, we're coming in out of practice, like somebody's fueling up, somebody's changing tires, somebody's checking the catch can, you know what I'm saying? Like all this stuff that kind of goes into running a comp level car in an event like that all day long, like a high horsepower, like car that has a lot of maintenance. You got to really have a team that can be on top of that and kind of keep it in check.
Know their part, know what to do.
Exactly. And then, you know, you've seen like we had that crazy collision with Lewis Lons at OSW. Fortunately, we both made it out without a scratch, and then also both teams fixed the cars. You know, that's because we had two really good teams of like really well-versed, you know, mechanics that we built experience with on both sides, his team and my team, and then adequate spares, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, they had to change, like, if I'm not mistaken, the whole rear knuckle. Which, you know, if you don't have those kind of spares, he made it all the way to the finals. You know, if you don't have those kind of spares and the parts and the guys to change it, then he's got to forfeit and count himself out. So it's really important to kind of figure out a way to have all those ducks in a row when you really want to start taking comp drifting serious. For sure. And it's something we had to learn. It's not something that, you know, you got to have when you show up to your first comp. We didn't have spares, and we didn't have full suspension spares and whatnot until this year. Yeah. So it's like, it's not something you have to have, but it's definitely something if you really want to be competitive and give yourself the best chance and run like an optimized program, definitely got to have like spares, good team and whatnot. Yeah. So it's crucial. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, sounds like, I mean, you're going up against the best.
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
That. They have their crews. They have the money. They have the backing. It's pretty wild. Did ISR come basically right after Clutch Kickers, or how'd that sponsorship come about?
Yeah, so once, you know, I beat Kevin at Clutch Kickers, that is when I like was introduced to the Njuku team and the Njuku family, you know, Ant, AK, Kevin, Brandon, Devin, like everybody that, you know, came to the events, Jesse, even the photographer. That was when I kind of got introduced to them after that battle, and we just hit it off with a great personal relationship between like myself and each and every one of them. Cool. And it was kind of just something that we were getting into comp drifting. You know, I'm a young up and coming driver. I was like, it's always been my dream to kind of work with, obviously, Njuku and ISR being a Florida driver. That's our home shop in terms of drifting. Like that's home base for like Southeast U.S. like Florida drifting. So I wanted to work with those guys. It was a dream, and fortunately ISR jumped on board and they helped us out with like the LS swap and getting all the parts and whatnot for that, and still support us till this day, obviously. So yeah, that definitely stemmed from the battle. Just it sparked a great relationship, awesome. And then we've been able to build on that. You know, whether it's like personal or even business wise. Yeah, so it's been neat.
True. So does that? You said they obviously help do with the swap. Do they provide parts, or is it more a money backing, or how does that relationship work?
It's obviously changed like over time, you know, as you go from different level of driving and different level of like what you can offer social media wise. It obviously kind of varies. But yeah, pretty much just parts and other ways of support as well. True. But it obviously started out as parts, getting everything for the LS swap.
Right.
They do some things on the Injuku side of things, like our custom exhaust and whatnot. Even though it's not technically ISR, because ISR is like the parts side of it, like manufactured parts, you know, for general vehicles, like all kind of stuff, suspension arms, exhaust, you know, they obviously kind of work together in house. So they did like our full exhaust setup and whatnot, all kind of different little things, all kind of changes, you know, over time. So
you reach out and call, see what you need.
Exactly. Yeah. You're able to kind of work something out.
True. That's sick, man. Any other sponsors besides ISR that you're working with?
Yeah, I mean, we have a big list of people. Obviously, I work at BC Racing, so pretty much since I started there, they've been a huge part of our programs. Always I love Cody to death. He's one of my best friends, and he's like now got into drifting here at OSW, which is sweet. He's got a Mustang and a Z, RTR Mustang and a Z. And he's getting into events and ripping, so that's cool. So obviously we work with BC and Cody and whatnot. And then Freddie Spec Tune, not only does he like tune our cars and keep up with, you know, tuning and data logging at the track, he's kind of like a motorsports genius, really. Yeah. I like to call him like the Christian Horner of like drifting, because he likes to crew for, you know, teams that listen to him and work with him and that have, you know, capable drivers and whatnot. And he really does have a ton of knowledge to kind of push you and your car and program to the next level and steer you in the right direction. So Freddie's been a huge help for us. He's awesome. Also one of my best friends, even in personal life.
Cool.
So Freddie, he's a big part of our program. So.
That works out then.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a mastermind on the laptop. I mean, guy's a genius. So.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that tuning still... that blows my mind. Like you said, I'm more of a driver.
I've never been able to understand it. I'm just like, you know what? It's not something I can do, and I'm not ever going to do it. So I'll leave that to the brains. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Everyone stick to their specialty.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you got the ISR 350. What other? You just pulled up in that was right-hand drive?
Yeah.
So a right-hand drive S14 Zenki.
Yeah, Kooky actually.
Oh, it's a Kooky?
Yeah. A little hard to tell. It's raining outside.
My bad.
It's pouring down.
So is that all you got right now, or?
Yeah, I got the comp car, which I don't even really like to call it mine. You know, it's my dad and I's like toy. It's our mutual project. You know, it's not my Z.
Right.
You know, it's something that my dad and I work on together. You know, it's our own hobby. It's a joint hobby. So it's not my car. You know, I can't wake up and be like, oh, I'm gonna sell the comp car.
Right.
Like not a chance in hell. You know what I mean? But I've got the S14 Sylvia. It's a factory like SR, like turbo SR 5-speed car.
Sick.
Super nice, kitted out. Obviously got some BCs.
Been treating you good?
Yeah, it's been treating me good. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it looks sick.
I've had an SR before, and they're kind of scary. You know, you're like, oh, am I going to get to work today?
Yeah.
But I've got that, and then I've also got a 2002 4Runner, just like a little lifted SUV kind of off-roading that I don't take off-road much, ironically. But
is there anything... You were telling me how you've switched all these cars. Yeah. I thought you had a Z and the JZX.
Yeah, I used to have the JZX, used to have the Street Z, but I'm on car number 15 and 21. So
sick, dude. That's great.
Just from buying and selling, though, right? Like I don't have like a bunch of cars at once. You know, I'm not like, oh, I got like a 15 car collection.
Yeah. Is there anything that you may be thinking of trading? I
actually have that car for sale right now.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I want to get into a BMW M240i, which has like the B58 drivetrain, like out of the Supra and all of the 40i series cars, whether it's like the 340i or the 440. The B58 is crazy. Like B58 cars are fast.
I don't know too much about them, but
they're running like 10 seconds, like
I hear good
stock. Like if I'm not mistaken, I mean maybe that's wrong, but from what I've seen on like TikTok and different videos, they're like 10-second stock turbo like B58s and crazy reliability. So my buddy Greg Jones actually drifts one. He has an M240i.
Okay.
It's a manual B58 6-speed, and it rips. I mean, they make like 350 horsepower stock, and I've seen people make like 500 on stock turbos with like bolt-ons and a tune. So.
Dang.
Which that's nuts nowadays. Like, and obviously Toyota helped BMW develop the motor and whatnot and refine it. It's proved to be like one of the most reliable modern drivetrains. So that's what I'm kind of itching to get into. I want to get one, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I've never been that big of a fan of Beamers, but I just hear so much good things about them that like I can't hate anymore. Like You know, it is what it is. Like they are good.
E36s work, E46s work, E90s, E92s work.
Yeah.
You know, all line of BMWs in motorsports prove to just be like competitive chassis.
Right.
They're fast street cars, obviously. So I think we'll see more and more of them as prices start coming down. You know, you can already obtain a B58 car for like low 20s, mid 20s, which that's a lot, but. You know, when vets first came onto the scene, people were paying 20 for vets.
Right.
So I think once we see like 20 grand-ish B58 cars, I think we'll start to see more of those modern F Series, 3 Series, and 2 Series like B58 cars at the track. So.
True. That should be dope.
Because like Adam Super rips.
Yeah.
Like that thing, and that's like a stock B58.
Right.
Like, and it makes crazy power. I mean, they're just good cars.
Yeah.
Good drivetrain.
I am excited to see that this new generation of cars and what. Because it always happens like later on.
Yeah.
You know, like when the Z came out, I don't know if everyone went to grab one to start drifting, right? It took some years for people to realize they were really great for that. So same with the Corvette, same with Mustangs. So like this new little era of cars that are coming out right now.
For sure. Like
should
the
be cool.
GR86, even though it's kind of the same car, I think it makes like a little bit more power.
Yeah.
We're already seeing some of those in
the
FD and whatnot.
The Z,
so
the new Z. Yeah. Just
which
all
that
of those
thing is
I'm
crazy.
excited
like,
for.
I can't believe those are going for what they're going for.
Insane.
Like 60 grand. I've seen 50, 60 grand, like
Insane.
75 for Nismos. I'm just like, when the Nismo 370 came out, I'm pretty sure it was like $45,000. Right? So like 70 grand. I mean, obviously the economy's going crazy. But,
right.
You know, 75 grand for a Nismo. Who's buying that? Like,
I don't know.
Who has that? That's like,
don't know.
You could buy like a used Porsche for that.
Right, yeah.
Like a used 911.
Even some are even cheaper than that.
Yeah,
I mean, like my dad is looking for a Porsche right now, and he's
for like 35, 45. You know, so
yeah, dude,
it's crazy. Car market's wild right now.
It is, and it's good and bad because if you're selling something, it's good.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're buying, you're like, damn, man, like my options are slim pickings around here unless you're trying to drop a bag. So.
Yeah, or get something that's complete trash that you're gonna build. Or
exactly.
Which. You pay by time or you pay by money. So
yeah, exactly.
It's one of the two.
It's one of the two, yeah.
Yeah, dude. So what are your goals, your dreams? Where do you see all of this going? Obviously, we're going to Pro Spec this coming up year. In the next 5 years, how do you see yourself progressing and going?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, hopefully we can push through Pro Spec. We're never in a rush. You know, that's one thing I've always tried to, like, hold myself to and kind of instill in my dad and our program is, like, it's not a race, right? Like, when you look back on the past, well, yeah, no pun intended. When you look back on the past, though, there's so many guys who have entered FD, right? They've entered Pro 2, they've entered Pro 1. They've had a couple seasons, and then you know, they didn't have, I don't want to say they necessarily didn't have anything dialed, but for whatever variables, you know, they had to exit quickly, right? Yeah. I don't want to be that guy, right? So I want to make a strong push when we're ready as a team, and I feel that I'm ready as a driver to jump into Pro Spec, drive hard, have all the ducks in a row for like a well-rounded logistical program, finance-wise, you know, sponsorship-wise, partnership-wise, driving-wise, myself, the car. I want to make sure that we have a strong foundation before we, you know, take that step and really push. Because, like I said, I want it to be like a calculated move, right? I don't want to just like, oh, we got the opportunity to go. Yeah. Let's just rush in, right? Because you see so many guys, not even just in drifting, but other avenues of motorsports. They get in, things don't work out. They have, you know, some rocky battles, and they weren't fully prepared program-wise and finance-wise. And then they're forced to, you know, exit, right? Even though they have insane potential. Right. You know, I'd hate for that to happen to me, and I think a good way to avoid that is being mature about, you know, taking that step and pushing in. But obviously I hope that, you know, we can have a strong push into Pro Spec whenever we make that jump, which I think we're going to shoot for the 2025 season. True. I hope we can make a strong push and have a solid, well-rounded program, drive hard, place good, maybe be one and done and go straight to, you know, Pro 1. But like I said, I'm never putting a time limit on it. Right. I want all the moves to be well-rounded, well-calculated, and you know, logical. Yeah. So hopefully we can make it, you know, in soon time. You know, I would like to, you know, obviously I'm itching. I'm like, I want to drive. I want to win Pro Spec. I want to win FD, right? Right. So that's the end goal.
But, you know, patience is key.
Right. Exactly.
And I also hear not only about, like, not having the right things set up, but also burning out. Like, I hear people having the right stuff set up and just the fact of traveling all the time and not necessarily drifting and having fun because you're battling.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Huge time commitment, huge finance commitment. You know.
It's a lot.
For sure, yeah. Right. And I give, because I don't have to do a lot of the wrenching and the prep on the car and whatnot. So it really amazes me, and I'm really impressed by a majority of the driver field of like serious comp guys who really do from start to finish, by the time from getting the car built, prepared and ready, to getting in the car strapped in and getting off track and fixing what they broke and then getting back out there. You know, guys like Steven Tassanero, Matt the Ginge, those guys always kind of started competing like that. And, you know, you got to pay respects to those guys because like that's an even harder, you know, grind. There is a lot of guys that have, you know, strong teams and whatnot that are manning their cars, but not everybody has that in the competitive field. So it's really awesome to kind of take a step back and respect what those guys are doing as well.
For sure.
So,
yeah, dude, it's pretty wild because I would need somebody to be as a crew chief or working on the car.
I know I'm not capable of doing it all. Like not in a million years, right?
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it.
There it is, man. There is a lot to it. Well, is there anything you want to say? Any shout-outs you want to do before we close this off?
Yeah, just want to pretty much shout out to all of the companies that have really made drifting possible for us, especially in these last couple years. You know, it's been an expensive last few seasons, taking the competitive stuff serious, but ISR Performance, BC Racing, Locals Pub, huge partners for us. Freddie at Spectune, Grip Royal, Scott, Kanzai, you know, Bell Raceworks, lots of guys on our crew. Rise Fab Shop came in, hooked it up with the quick change setup. So Raps Direct for always knocking out like our liveries out of the park, like getting us the best quality graphics to you know, keep us on track but looking good, right? Because that's a huge part of, you know, getting your building your brand and your partnerships. Exactly. So huge thank you to all of those guys. You know, it's an honor for those guys to believe in myself and my dad and the team and what we're able to do. So without them, we wouldn't even remotely be close to be able to where we're at. So thank you to those guys. And if I forgot to mention any in the moment, thank you to everybody.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll catch up maybe next season.
Yeah,
see
let's
what's
do it.
going
let's
on.
do a little follow-up.
Like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you guys next time, fam.
Peace.